Silly, let's try another one.
All right.
What do you call a pudgy psychic?
What?
A fortune teller.
Okay. Not bad.
Not bad. A little in poor taste, but
Yeah.
that's the problem with puns. Sometimes they're just not in good taste. But I'm sure the MoneyWise FAQ will be in good taste.
Sean, is there any advice that you would give a business to doing payroll in multiple states?
It's a great question, Bobby, and one we get a lot more often with the introduction of additional hybrid work and remote work. The most important thing to know in an extra state is to make sure that they're registered for the appropriate account. So if it's a for-profit business, they need to have a withholding account and an unemployment account. And if it's a nonprofit business, they have to have a withholding account for certain, and they need to understand the rules for unemployment in that individual state for nonprofits.
That's good advice about needing to be registered. What else would they need to think about?
Yeah, beyond registration, they need to think about the various different rules for states. While there is a federal minimum wage and federal overtime rules, we see more and more states that have individual state rules. So make sure that you understand the overtime rates. Make sure you understand when an employee is in overtime. California has different rules from Texas, has different rules from Virginia. So you want to make sure that you understand those rules, and you want to make sure that you understand the minimum wage rules, not just for the state, but for the locality. We now see in different places where there's a local minimum wage, not just a federal minimum wage or just a state minimum wage.
What should an employer do when an employee moves or changes a residency in a different state?
The first thing they need to do is make sure they are registered, and then that they understand the various work rules and the various benefits that they've got to offer. Every state has their own rules, so they just want to make sure that they're keeping up to date with whatever that information is. There is a little bit of a grace period when you move in, particularly if you're working with a payroll company. A lot of the withholdings can be calculated even before they're fully registered, but they do want to make sure that they get registered as quickly as possible, and that they get all of the required information to those employees as early as possible.
What about an employee that may work in multiple states?
Multi-state employment is very complicated. The story I love to tell here is if you think about your professional athletes, they're often subject to tax based on where the game they are playing that day is located, because some portion of their income is in that new location, right? If your employees are physically going and earning money in multiple states, then yeah, they'll have a tax liability in multiple states.
And what does that look like for the employee at the end of the year when they receive a W-2, multiple W-2s? What does that look like?
If an employee has a tax liability in two states, right, if they move mid-year or they work in multiple states where they might have 2 or 3 or 4, they will receive a W-2 for each of those states, and they'll have a filing requirement in each of those states.
It sounds very complicated. I think a lot of our clients are glad that they can hand that over to us because it's a lot of information to try to learn and do in-house on your own.
That's a great reminder, Bobby Joe. Any small business particularly who's working with employees in multiple states will want to make sure that they reach out to some kind of expert to make sure they stay compliant. Hybrid work is great, remote work is great, but if you've got employees in more than one state, you will likely want to seek assistance to make sure that you've got it right. If you have questions about this or any other payroll-related issue, please subscribe to our newsletter from our website or follow us on any of our socials.
Feel free to give the office a call and talk to one of us directly. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have.
My name's Sean.
My name is Bobby.
And this has been a MoneyWise FAQ.